My name is Emily Carter, and the day I learned I had cancer was supposed to be the happiest day of my year, my 32nd birthday. Instead, it became the day my life split into before and after. I woke up on March 18th with sunlight spreading across my apartment in downtown Seattle, the soft hum of traffic barely audible through the double-paned windows. My alarm played one of those generic sounds, something like gentle bells, which I had set the night before to keep myself calm for the appointment. I reached toward my nightstand, silenced it, and stared at the ceiling. Everybody said turning 32 wasn't special. But I had hoped it would at least feel peaceful. Instead, I was going to the hospital. I swung my legs over the bed and pressed my hands against my chest, feeling the familiar tightness, anxiety pretending to be physical pain. Nothing was wrong with me, I had told myself for weeks. I was healthy, active, busy. I didn't have time to be sick. But the tiny lump near my left collarbone had insisted otherwise, and my doctor insisted I get it checked, just to be safe. I tried to distract myself with normal birthday things. I turned on music. I made coffee. I even put on a sparkly sweater because I had bought it specifically to wear today. But the fear clung to me like cold air. My phone buzzed. Ava, my best friend since college. Happy birthday, Em. Cake later? Dinner is on me. Don't bail. Red heart. I stared at it. I wanted to say of course, but I typed. Appointment first. Then I'll tell you. She replied instantly. I'll pick you up. No arguments. I smiled despite everything. Ava had been the one constant in my ever-changing adult life through moves, breakups, job changes, family chaos. She never let me face anything alone. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside into the crisp spring air. Cherry blossoms were just beginning to bloom along the street, pale petals fluttering around me like confetti. It should have been beautiful. But I couldn't feel any of it. Today would determine if I was imagining my fear, or living inside it. The hospital waiting room smelled like disinfectant and stale coffee. A nurse wearing bright pink scrubs smiled at me, but her eyes were the tired kind that had seen too much. Emily Carter, she called gently. My palms went clammy. I stood slowly and followed her through a hallway lined with closed doors. Each one felt like a possibility. Inside one room, someone else was hearing their own life-changing news. Inside another, someone might be recovering. Hospitals were full of beginnings and endings. My doctor, Dr. Lawson, waited inside a small consultation room. She was young, maybe in her late 30s, with soft curls pinned behind her ears and a pair of glasses that always slid down her nose. She reminded me of a middle school teacher, patient, kind, steady. The type of person who prepared you before delivering a blow. Happy birthday, she said softly when I sat down. I swallowed. Thank you. Then she opened the folder in front of her. Even before she spoke, I knew. Emily, she said, the biopsy results came back, and it appears you have Hodgkin lymphoma. The room faded. Her voice dimmed. My heartbeat drowned out everything. Cancer. A word I had only heard in other people's stories, never my own. I blinked at her. Are you sure? She nodded gently. Yes. But the good news is, it's a highly treatable cancer. We caught it fairly early. Your prognosis is... I didn't hear the rest. It felt like my birthday candles had been blown out all at once, leaving me in the dark. My throat tightened. So... I'm sick. My voice cracked. Really sick. We're going to treat it, she said firmly. You're not alone in this, Emily. But all I could think was, why today? Why my birthday? Why me? She walked me through treatment options, chemotherapy, possible radiation, timelines, side effects. I tried to listen, I really did, but my hands were shaking so badly that I had to sit on them to keep them still. When the appointment was over, I stepped into the hallway like a ghost. The hospital seemed larger, colder. People moved around me, nurses pushing carts, a man laughing on his phone, a child tugging at her mother's coat, life continuing as mine stalled. Outside, the cherry blossoms looked pale and distant. That was when I broke. I sat on a bench next to the hospital entrance and sobbed, hiding my face in my hands. I didn't care who saw. I didn't care about anything except the ache that stretched from my throat to my stomach. Happy birthday, Emily. You have cancer. Ava found me still crying. She rushed over, dropped her purse onto the pavement, and wrapped her arms around me. What happened? Emily, what happened? I couldn't speak. I pressed my forehead against her shoulder, and she held me tighter. After several minutes, when my breathing calmed enough to form words, I whispered, "It's cancer." She froze. I felt her breath stop for a moment. Then she cupped my cheeks and looked directly at me, eyes fierce. We're going to get through this. Not you. We. My first ray of hope. We went to her car and sat inside without starting it. She didn't force me to talk. She just placed her hand over mine. Finally, I murmured, "Why on my birthday?" She squeezed my fingers. Maybe because you needed to know on a day you'll always remember. Maybe this is the start of something, not the end. I wanted to believe her. We drove back to my apartment, where she insisted on staying with me. She made tea even though I barely touched it. She sat beside me on the couch, our legs tucked under a blanket, letting me cry when I needed and stare blankly when I couldn't speak. Hours passed. The sky darkened. Sometime around 7 p.m., she whispered, "Do you want a birthday cake? I can get one." I laughed weakly. "I can't eat." "Then I'll just put candles on something." She stood. "Even toast?" Despite everything, I smiled. She came back with a single cupcake she had secretly carried for hours in her purse, slightly smashed but topped with a blue candle. "Make a wish," she said. "I don't know what to wish for." "Peace," she whispered. "Strength. Healing. Or just a better tomorrow." So I closed my eyes and wished for all three. When I blew out the candle, something inside me shifted. A tiny spark of hope lit itself. Chemo started 3 weeks later. I had cut my hair short the day before, more out of control than aesthetics. My co-workers assumed it was a style choice, but Ava knew. She sat beside me as clumps fell to the salon floor and whispered, "You're brave." I didn't feel brave. The treatment center was on the 4th floor of the hospital, big windows, soft chairs, blankets folded neatly on shelves. People of all ages sat hooked to 4 lines, some reading, some sleeping, some staring at nothing. A silent community of fighters. A nurse guided me to a recliner. "First time?" she asked warmly. I nodded. "Don't worry. We'll take good care of you." When she connected the 4 line, my stomach flipped. I watched the clear liquid drip through the tube, poison and hope mixed together. Ava held my hand the entire time. The nausea hit later that night, so intense I curled on the bathroom floor, shaking. I cried into a towel while Ava held my hair back. "It's okay," she murmured. "Let it out." I hated feeling weak. I hated needing help. But I also hated how quickly she forgave me when I snapped at her out of pain, or when I woke her at 2 a.m. because I couldn't stop trembling. She stayed. Always. By the 3rd treatment, I had lost nearly all my hair. I wore beanies everywhere, at home, at the store, even during Zoom calls for work. People tried to be kind, offering support, but some days their pity felt suffocating. I started pushing people away. Except Ava. She didn't let me. One night when I refused her offer to stay over, saying I wanted to be alone, she just crossed her arms and said, "Too bad. I'm staying." I collapsed into sobs. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you would do the same for me." But I wasn't sure I would've. Not with the patience she showed me. Sometimes, late at night, I wondered if she resented me. If she felt burdened. If she secretly wished she didn't have to carry so much of my pain. But she never said anything except, "You're not alone. Not now. Not ever." Still, the days grew darker. There were mornings when I stared at my reflection, a pale face, sunken eyes, trembling fingers, and didn't recognize the woman I saw. My body changed faster than I could accept. I lost weight. I lost stamina. I lost control. And yet, something inside me kept whispering, "Keep going." That small voice kept me alive. Halfway through my treatment, I found a letter hidden in Ava's bag by accident. It had my name on it. Curiosity got the best of me. Inside, she had written, "If Emily ever reaches a point where she can't keep fighting, remind her of who she is. She is strength. She is stubbornness. She is the bravest woman I know. And I will not let her give up, not even if she asks me to." I cried harder than I had in weeks. When Ava found me holding the letter, she panicked. "Emily, I wasn't ready to give you that." I threw my arms around her. "You saved me," I whispered. Her voice was unsteady. "You saved yourself." I just held the flashlight. I realized then that she wasn't helping me out of pity. She was helping me because she loved me. Not romantically, but deeply. The kind of love that exists only in friendships that have been tested by fire. And I let that love in. Finally. Something changed after that. Treatments still hurt. I still cried. I still woke up nauseous and weak and exhausted. But I also woke up hopeful. I began journaling. I started walking in the mornings, short distances at first, longer later. I filled my window with potted plants, tiny green things that reminded me that growth was slow, but real. I listened to music again. I opened my windows. I let sunlight touch my face. And I started imagining a future, something I hadn't allowed myself to do since the diagnosis. Sometimes Ava would join me on my morning walks, and we'd pretend we were hiking a mountain instead of strolling slowly through my neighborhood. Once, I asked her, "Do you think I'll survive this?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes. Absolutely." "How do you know?" "Because you're too stubborn not to." I laughed, and for the first time in months, the sound didn't feel foreign. My final chemo session came on a rainy Tuesday. The nurses clapped when I rang the victory bell, but I cried. Not from joy, but from the fear that it might not be enough. Ava hugged me. "This isn't the end, Em. It's the beginning." When we left the hospital, the clouds parted just enough to let sunlight pierce through the gray. A narrow beam landed directly on the pavement in front of us, like the world was offering a promise. For the first time, I believed in it. The PET scan results would determine everything. Was the cancer gone? Or would I need more treatment? The waiting was unbearable. Ava held my hand in the doctor's office, squeezing it gently as we sat across from Dr. Lawson. My heart hammered so loudly that I barely heard her greeting. Then she smiled. "Emily, the scan shows no active cancer cells. You're in remission." The room spun. I burst into tears, my whole body shaking with relief. Ava sobbed too, holding on to me as if afraid I'd float away. "You did it," she whispered. "Emily, you did it." But I knew it wasn't just me. It was her. And my doctors. And every small choice to keep going. Exactly 1 year after my diagnosis, my 33rd birthday, I stood on the balcony of my apartment, overlooking the city. The skyline glowed under the early morning sun, and the cherry blossoms were blooming again, just like last year. Except everything felt different. My hair had started growing back short and soft like newborn strands. My body was still recovering, but stronger. My heart, though bruised, felt fuller than ever. Ava knocked on my door, balancing a cake box and a bouquet of daisies. "Happy birthday," she said, smiling. I hugged her. "Thank you. For everything." She shook her head. "Don't thank me. Just keep living." We ate cake on the balcony. We watched the petals fall. We breathed. Later that evening, when we lit the candles, she asked, "What will you wish for this year?" I looked at the city, the sky, the world that had nearly slipped from my fingers. And I said, "For more years. For more memories. For more life." I closed my eyes, made my wish, and blew out the candles, this time full of light instead of fear. I didn't choose cancer. I didn't choose the pain, the fear, the trauma. But I chose to keep going. I chose love. I chose hope. I chose life. Cancer didn't take my birthday away. It redefined it. Every year, when that day comes, I don't think of the diagnosis anymore. I think of survival, of strength, of the moment I realized I wasn't as alone as I feared. I think of Ava, of the hospital bench, of the first spark of hope. And I whisper to myself, "You made it, Emily. You're still here." And that is the greatest birthday gift I will ever receive.